all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course hearing about how amazing Mr. Jimmy Jet is in a Toyota, no homo, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler. Joining me for episode 398 of the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast is the one and only Mr. Toyota himself, Mr. Jimmy Jet. And the crowd goes wild. Woo!
I got the button right.
Hey,
that
good
time.
job.
Yeah, thanks.
You didn't look too sure of your decision.
I was questioning. That was for sure.
How's it going, man?
I'm good. Thanks. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Nice.
Good. I could use another margarita, I think.
Well, go get one.
Okay, I'm going to go get a margarita. Ad lib. Do it. Go.
While Tyler's off, I'll talk about our giveaway this month, which is the 2 spots for the Morphlate PSI Plus, the 10.6 that automatically shuts off when you reach your desired pressure when you're airing up. So big thanks to Morphlate for donating those. If you want to get into this month's giveaway, you can do that over on iRate 4x4 under the watch, listen, and discuss section. You find the Snail Trail 4x4 forum there, and then you can scroll down to the bottom if you're on mobile, or if you're on desktop, it's on the right side, and you just click your desired tier, and you get entered for that Morphlate 10.6 PSI Pro. So super exciting product coming out from Morphlate, and having an automatic shutoff when you're airing up is going to be it'll make airing up so much easier when you don't have to worry about going and checking the PSI of your air compressor. It'll automatically shut off for you, which is going to be super cool.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. We were at Moab, fun story.
Yes, we were.
And getting ready for Metal Masher. We had 5 rigs all airing down. And like all of us were just kind of hanging out, except for Lee, because Lee failed at his air down that day. Didn't he let all the air out of his tire that day? No, that was air up. Yeah. At the end of the day.
That was airing up at the end of the Metal Masher.
Oh, Lee. No, but we were all just kind of hanging out chatting, and there was some people next to us that had got off the trail before people got there, and they were still working on airing up, and they're like all squatting down at their tires, and we're just hanging out chatting. I thought it was funny. That
is probably one of, if not the best thing about a Morphlate, is that it does all the tires at the same time. And so while you're airing up or airing down, you really don't have to pay attention to each individual tire and paying attention all the time, all the way around the rig. You just have to pay attention a few times, and that counts for all 4 of the tires.
Yeah.
So while we're all airing down, we're all connected. We start airing down, and you just start bullshitting for a little bit. And then you go, oh, I think I'm about I need to go check it real quick. Yep. And you go and check it. And so airing up with the PSI Pro is going to be even better, because now you just plug everything in, turn it on, set your desired pressure, and not worry about it and then you go, oh, my compressor is not running for an extended period of time. I must be fully inflated now.
Yep. Yeah. I did find out something recently, and I haven't tested it or like researched it. I just heard from somebody who does off-road training.
Okay.
Kind of up in the I want to say it's the Tennessee area. But they said that new vehicles, like brand new vehicles, if your tire pressures, like if you got 3 tires at 10 PSI and one of them is at like 15 or 18 PSI, the car does not like that. And the car will throw an engine code, and it won't let you go into 4-wheel low.
Oh, interesting.
And you can't clear the code with an OBD2 reader. You have to go into like a Ford dealer or something.
What?
To clear the code.
So if you air down and it's not even?
And they're not even, and you have one tire that's a significant amount, quote unquote, away from the other 3, the car throws a code and goes into, won't let you go into 4 low. And the only way to clear the code is to go into a dealer.
That's really weird.
Right?
I've never heard that.
I hadn't either. And they were like, yeah, it happened on a brand new Bronco last weekend, something like that. And they said they've had it happen to a couple of other cars. Like they were like, if we felt bad because the dude like aired down in the morning with an ARB easy deflator, didn't know how to use it, and took one of his tires, 6 PSI lower than the other 3. And the car threw a code and we couldn't clear the code. The only thing we could do was air him back up and send him into town to get it cleared.
Dang.
I was like, wow, that sucks.
Yeah. So Morphlate's going to be a staple here soon because it'll air everything down evenly. What if you want your front and rear tires a different PS?
That's a good question, right?
I wonder how that works.
I want to do testing with it to be like, okay, what scenarios is the computer really looking for here?
Yeah.
Is it just one tire freaking out, or will it freak out if you've got, your front's at 20 and your rear's at 60? I don't know.
Yeah. So, I would think I would concern myself the other direction because some people like to air their front tires down. They'll air all the tires. If I used a Morphlate, I'd air all the tires down to, let's say, 10 PSI. And then I want to air the rears down more because there's less weight over the rear.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll air those down a little bit more so that they get that flex and the, what do you call it? The
pooch?
The pooch effect going on because there's less weight there. So maybe the fronts are at 10, my rears are at like 6 so that they're evenly pooched.
Yeah.
They're evenly bulged around, in all the corners. I wonder if that would throw it off too.
That's a good question, right? And he said it happened on a brand new Bronco. So I'm kind of like, I want to bring my Bronco into the shop one day and just mess around with it.
And then take it to the Ford dealer.
And then I'll have to drive down to the Ford dealer and be like, hey guys,
fix me.
Yep. Fix this. This is a big problem.
Yeah. That is an interesting issue. So, wow.
Yeah.
Well, how's that margarita?
It's great. It's the prickly pear, the same one as the one I just had. So I'm a little disappointed in that. I was hoping to get a different one, but
I know.
I didn't notice it until I was on my way out of the room and I was like, whatever.
Good. Well, we got a few other updates for you guys today. I think we might do a review or two.
We can
get that rolling. We did all the FNGs, birthdays, giveaway stuff on Thursday's episode. So if you missed that, you can go back and check that out. We are still waiting for username already taken 69420 and Joe Z 60421. If you guys can, if that is your username on iTunes, then get in contact with us. You guys want a winch. One of you guys want a winch. I did have a person on Instagram reach out to me and say he was Joe.
Oh.
And he is a Joe, but he's not Joe Z.
Oh, bummer.
I know. I was like, wait, you're Joe Z? And he's like, no, but I'm Joe. I'm like, okay, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So please, if that's one of you guys, we want to give this winch away to the rightful winner. So get in contact with us.
Yep, I agree. So we are at 521 reviews.
Almost halfway to 550.
Almost halfway there.
Another swag pack going out.
Let's see. So we left off here. Looks like the last one we did was from Mart Loves Garlic.
Oh, Mark.
Thanks, buddy, for writing in again.
You. And thanks for hiding tokens.
Yeah. So the next one we have in line here is from Mr. Red Runner 87. I guess it could be a miss or misses. It says, great podcast helping recovering Jeep owners recover with one podcast at a time. Helping recovering Jeep owners recover with one podcast at a time.
I like it.
Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of... They're a recovering Jeep owner.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but...
So this sounds like they came over to the Toyota world.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I'm taking it.
That's how I'm going to take it too.
So it's a positive.
Yeah. Next one is from Mike Fota.
Hey, Mike.
It says the best, like almost like the bomb, but the best.
Yeah. Is it just as hot?
Yep. It says awesome podcast all around. Tyler and Jimmy are knowledgeable and entertaining to listen to! Exclamation point.
Oh, thanks.
Hope to see them out on the trail someday.
Probably.
Hopefully.
Someday.
We're out there quite a bit.
Yeah. Not this year.
Yeah, not this year. This year's going to be a little, I think, a dud. It's a rebuilding year. We are rebuilding. Rebuild it the best it's ever been.
I did have a request for a Hot Ones episode.
Oh, no. I quit already.
I said I'm going to have to do it with Lee and Tyler from Power Tank.
Oh, yeah. And pull Sean in, too.
Yeah, we could pull Sean in.
Just make sure he brings his popsicles again.
But I said it would be a video side because nobody wants to hear us eat on a podcast.
No, I will not be listening to that one. That would be fun. Yeah, since Mike, Mr. Pagaduan, is no longer with us. He abandoned us.
I know.
Yeah.
SoCal family.
Next one up here is some Ranger 97 XIT. This is a great podcast. Awesome show. Plenty of cool off-road discussions, even for those who are not diehard Toyota fans. Enjoyed from here in Maine.
Wow.
Sweet. That's almost about as far away as you can get from us.
Pretty much. Unless we were in like San Diego.
Right? Yeah.
It's about as far across the country as you could go.
We need to find a way to do a cannonball run sometime. Speaking of.
Let's do it in our rigs and see. Like,
in the crawlers. Yeah. How long it really takes. Oh, man. That would be funny.
I'll do it. I'll do it one way. You do it back and we'll see who can go faster.
Okay. That'd be funny because we'll get pulled over at some point and we'll just be like, the cop will be like, I clocked you going at 72. So why'd you pull me over then? Because I can't go any faster.
Yeah, you're going too slow for the freeway.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh, man. The last one here for today is Forerunner Betsy.
Hey, Betsy.
It just says the best.
The best.
The best.
Nice. I like
That's all it is.
To the point.
Very to the point. Could have used one less word.
Just best.
Best. Yeah.
Or the
best. Let's just go with best. We get
Betsy just writes the. Their next one says best.
Yeah. That'd be interesting. Podcast ever. Oh, man. Well, cool. Thanks everybody for writing in. Yep. We're 521. So what is that? 39? No, 29.
29 more.
29 more.
So we do another swag pack.
Yep. Sweet. Let's see. What else do we got going on today? Today's Monday.
Yes, it is. I don't think we really have any other updates. I think we're going to just jump into some Bronco talk.
Sweet. I like Bronco talk. Are we allowed to do that on a Toyota podcast?
Well, we did have an inquiry, didn't we?
We did. Yeah. Yeah. We had a couple people ask about some of the technology, like specifically, like one person asked about the one pedal technology. One person asked about the trail control. One person asked how the goat modes work. So I figure we can kind of just throw it all into one episode. And yeah,
I think that's good. My question is more so, what tech did you use? How did you choose which options you wanted to use at which point?
That's a good question. So we'll get into it. And so grab your favorite drinks, grab your favorite flavored margarita, and we'll be right on back with today's Bronco Talk, brought to you by Tyler.
Are you tired of landing in potholes and bouncing off obstacles? To play at your full potential, correctly tuned coilovers allow you to float over the rocks and gain more traction. At 4-Wheel Underground, our full suspension systems include custom-tuned coilovers for your specific application. To learn more, visit 4wheelunderground.com.
Oh, welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies, to today's campfire discussion. So this one's kind of fun. I'm a fan of I don't know. I am and I'm not.
I'm like, where are you going?
I'm somewhat of a fan of different technologies and vehicles. But there's some technologies in vehicles where I'm like, it's too
much tech.
It's too much. Yeah. Right. And so I think that the Bronco kind of borders on that line, teeters on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, look at the goat modes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many settings are on the goat mode?
God damn. Is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? 7 or 8, I think.
And can you name them? There's probably
normal.
Okay.
Eco mode.
Okay.
Sport mode.
Sure.
And then there's what is it? Sand, mud, Baja, and rock.
Okay. 7.
So 7.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure that's all it.
Right. And I'm like, really? It is like, is there really a different setting between sand and mud?
Yeah. Right. So like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what is this actually doing? Right. There was a lot of stuff in the Bronco when we were out at Moab, and I was just like, okay, these things are heralded as a technology packed vehicle full of things that help you do off-roading. And the first thing that I discovered was the front camera.
Yes.
Front facing camera looks down right in front of your bumper. And I've always hated those in the past, but the Bronco is actually kind of interesting because stock, it's low to the ground. So you have to be very careful about where you put your tires.
Yeah.
and it has a big blocky hood.
It does. Yeah.
And it's hard to see over that hood and see the trail sometimes. Because you're lower to the ground. And if you're coming up on a ledge, it's like you have a big concern over going over that ledge because you're so low to the ground that you're going to, high center a turtle on the ledge as you go over, or you're worried about where your front tires are going to land. You need to try and hit some kind of rock or find the ramp to the ledge as you're going down it so that you don't turtle. And I found myself teaching the secretary to go down ledges using the front camera.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I could look at the front camera and I'm like, okay, there's a rock there. And what's also cool, the front camera gives you tire tracks on the screen of where your tires are.
Oh, what? That's cheating.
It totally was 100% cheating. So I would be like, oh, see your driver's side tire track on the screen, just light it up on that rock there and we'll be good. And she would do it. And so I caught myself sometimes during Metal Masher on some of the bigger ledges, pulling that up and being like, oh yeah, this is actually kind of nice right here.
You should have done Rock Chucker.
I know, right? Should have sent it right up Rock Chucker. So yeah, the front camera, it's a tool, right? And I think that a lot of people that use the front camera that I've at least seen use the front camera in the past, were relying too much on it. Like they were driving by the front camera.
Right.
But I found it quite useful, especially with such a small windshield like a Jeep has, to have that front camera, because you just don't have good vision out the front windshield on that car.
Yeah.
So I actually, surprisingly, that was the one thing that I was like, this is completely useless. I don't want this in the vehicle. I'm never going to use it. I'm going to relocate it, put it under the vehicle so I can see when my link arms hit stuff. And I found myself using it out at Moab.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So you converted a front camera user. You going to put one on the 4Runner?
Now, because I've got vision for days out the 4Runner. I sit up high. It's a bigger windshield. The hood is all slanted downward, so you have good vision of the trail in the 4Runner.
And soon your tires will be so far out you can just look in front of your rig.
That's true. I can look out the A pillars side wing to see where my tires are. Yeah. No. So yeah, I don't think I would ever put a front camera on the 4Runner. But on the Bronco, it was actually nice to have because I kept hitting stuff on the bottom of the Bronco until I started using the camera.
Okay. Yeah.
So that was the first thing. Another little feature, kind of fun with the heads up display that I was kind of caught me off guard, and I probably would not really use it because I've got Gaia.
Okay. Yeah.
But for anybody who doesn't have offline maps, which if you've listened to previous episodes, you should. Anybody who's a listener of this podcast should have some sort of offline maps software. But what's kind of neat is the main built-in navigation to the Bronco drops breadcrumbs.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Are they just points?
Mm-hmm. They're just
or are they lines that connect the points?
They're little dots.
Oh, okay.
And so if you end up getting lost somewhere because the map doesn't have the trails on it that you're on,
just follow the breadcrumbs
back out.
Nice.
I thought that was kind of clever. Yeah. I was like, oh, I didn't catch that. I never knew about that.
Gretel.
Mm-hmm. So that was another one. Let's see. What else was there that was interesting? The tank turn.
Yes.
Which is the trail turn assist is what it's officially called with Ford. I call it the tank turn.
Did you ever use it out in Moab?
I used it once.
Okay.
And it was kind of a legit use, but like, totally didn't really need it.
Yeah.
It just helped me get out of the turn quicker and get my line lined up right for what I wanted. But like, because the other, so it's like a hairpin turn at the bottom. You're going down this little gully and then you have to make this hairpin turn and come back up the wall of the other side of the gully. And so every other vehicle is fairly, I mean, I've got a 4-door Bronco and it still has a phenomenal turning radius. Like my turning radius is still shorter than an 80 series Land Cruiser.
Right. Okay.
And it's a smaller turn radius. So I'm like, I mean, I don't know. So I could have easily have taken the turn and had a smaller turn radius than everybody else in our group almost. But if I had taken that turn, I would have came out of the turn on a little bit of a off camber rocky section to go up the other wall of the goalie. And by using the trail turn assist, I was able to cut the turn almost in half of my normal turning radius. And then I had like 4 different line options I got to choose from.
Oh, that's cool.
to set up for. So,
right. Where you could have probably done a 3-point turn and had those options as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a piece of technology that you have that you got to utilize to get you up that hill.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, I don't know. I still think the trail turn assist, the tank turn is I don't know. It's not a necessary item. It's a play item.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know of any absolute need for it, but it's one of those things that you got it.
Might as well use it.
Might as well play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is there a special combo of buttons and tricks that you need to do to run that? Or is it just a push of a button and start cranking?
It's a push of a button and start cranking. You got to be in 4 low.
Okay.
Yep. And so the buttons for your front sway bar disconnect, front locker, rear locker, and turn assist are all right on top of the dashboard next to your hazard button, your hazard light. So 6 buttons up there. I will give Ford a lot of credit. They did a great job with those buttons and the indicators for them. They're nice and bright. You can see when they're on and engaged at any time of daylight or at nighttime. During the nighttime, there's a little puddle light that comes down.
Oh, really?
And just
from the
like the rearview mirror map lights.
Okay, yeah.
It comes down and only illuminates those 6 buttons on the dashboard.
That's kind of nice.
I caught that a couple nights in. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of actually clever. So the trail turn assist is button number 4 or 5. But yeah, you just hit that. And then if you're in 4 low, you start turning, and about, I don't know, 30%, 35% through to full lock, it'll grab the rear caliper, the rear wheel of whichever way you're turning.
Yeah.
And just locks it up.
And so do you know if the other passenger, like if you're turning driver and it's locking up the driver side rear tire, is the passenger side rear tire moving? Or is it just on like neutral?
No, it's moving. It's sending power out there. So essentially you can't be running the lockers when you're doing this, but it will send power out to the wheels, and it just keeps one from turning. And so at that point, it's acting like a limited slip. If you had one brake on, and for your limited slip, it sends the power to the other one, kind of thing.
Right.
But it forces it all.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting concept. And once you have electrical braking, it's absolutely very doable.
That's an interesting idea. I wonder if if you can put in 4 line locks.
That's kind of my thought, was putting in 4 of those Willwood electric brake calipers to accomplish the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Or 4 line locks could do the same thing. I mean, that's essentially what cutting brakes are. It's just a lever that's actuating the brakes to one side. So
correct. Yeah. That'd be interesting. That'd be fun.
Yeah. It was fun to play with. I don't think it's necessary though.
Okay.
Whereas like, I'm almost thinking the trail camera, the front facing trail camera is more necessary than the trail turn assist feature. Yeah. At that point with the vehicle.
I can see that.
Until I get it lifted and on a little bit bigger tires and more armor, I think that front facing camera is a little bit more necessary than the tank turn.
Okay.
So, the lockers worked great. I was able to engage them and pretty much got on the spot engagement. The front locker will not turn on in the middle of a climb. So you have to stop pushing on the accelerator in order for the front lockers to engage.
You have to be stopped.
You have to be stopped. Yep.
To engage the front locker.
Yep.
And probably the rear locker. Did you try it during?
It never gave me grief about turning on the lockers. Like there's a couple of times I turned on the lockers in the middle of a climb, and the rear seemed like it engaged just fine. I didn't have any issues with it. They just gave me warning messages about the front locker.
Huh.
Yeah. Okay. Said in order to engage front locker, let go of the accelerator. I'm like, but I'm in the middle of a climb. That doesn't seem like a smart idea to me.
Right. Well, I think their logic is you need to know what you're getting yourself into before you start climbing.
That's probably best. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the lockers, they worked great. I was very concerned about climbing stuff and like stuffing the front tires and climbing in a turn.
Yeah.
With the lockers on, or climbing like a V-notch ledge or something like that with the lockers on.
Rods?
Because of the tie rods.
Yeah.
I never had any issues with the tie rods, but those are by far, in my opinion, after playing around with the rig, looking it over, going around everything, those are by far the weak point of the Bronco. They're tiny, small, thin tie rods, and they're 2-piece tie rods. They're not a 1-piece tie rod. So like they're waiting to go. So I'm going to get probably those billet aluminum block sleeves for them from Bronco Buster. But those are my main concern, but like it handled everything I threw at it whenever I threw at it. So nice. I will say I did 2 of the more difficult lines in the 4Runner than I attempted in the Bronco. But everything felt stable and didn't feel like the Bronco ever struggled. So like there was a couple times when, this is another thing that kind of caught me off guard is the electric steering.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's electric steering, it has like an electric motor in the steering shaft, right? In the steering column that controls and helps move, your, rack and pinion, right? Mm-hmm. Engage and move the rack and pinion so you get steering. And there was a couple times where I stuffed the Bronco in the same position that I stuffed the 4Runner the year before, and I didn't feel like there was like the steering suffered at all. Like it didn't feel like it struggled. Yeah. Whereas like even the 4Runner kind of struggled a little bit with the hydro assist in that same position.
So and you're saying a rack and pinion is stronger than a steering box?
I don't think so. I think that the electric assist is stronger or makes things smoother or something. I'm not sure, but it felt like I was, a good hydro assist system driving around the Bronco, even though it's not. It's electric steering. So that was really interesting. There was the front sway bar disconnect.
Yeah, I was going to ask about
that. That worked great. I could feel the difference running it and not running it. I could tell when it was connected and not connected.
Yeah. Okay.
If you go over 20 miles an hour, it automatically reconnects it for you. But otherwise, if you're staying below 20, it stays disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay. Annoying feature though, is that I believe the front locker and the sway bar disconnect, if you have them on when you shut off the vehicle, when you turn the vehicle back on, they're off.
Yes.
But the rear locker stays on.
That's weird.
Yeah. So you have to remember, if you think that your sway bar is still disconnected and you have your front locker on after turning off the vehicle, I didn't find that to be the case a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that off-road truck companies or companies that make these types of trucks or SUVs, if you want to call it, I think they're really scared about people breaking the front.
Probably, yeah.
And, don't want somebody driving down the road with a front locker on or don't want, have all these problems. So I think their default is safety in those situations, right? Especially the sway bar as well. Mm-hmm. As much as, we're always going slow. We're always climbing over rocks. We're never really going fast. Why are these things continuously disengaging when I turn the vehicle off? Mm-hmm. Well, that's because most people probably get to the end of the trail, turn their vehicle off, hang out with some friends, relax for a moment, jump in their rig and drive down the road. Uh-huh. And they want the dealers want it to be safe and not driving a boat that has a front locker on.
Exactly. Yep. Dealers spend a lot of money on lawyers to avoid bad situations in the first place.
And off-road or vehicle companies.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly what it is, but it's just something that I wasn't thinking of. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is something I gotta remember now.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I engaged the e-locker in the Tacoma, but I think it defaults to off when I turn the vehicle on and off.
Well, I'm wondering if there's something there as well, because, I caught myself one time. I immediately started driving off somewhere, and 30, 45 seconds into the drive, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to turn off the e-brake. And so I reached down to turn off the e-brake, and it said that the e-brake wasn't on. I was like, I'm 99% sure I turned it on when I parked.
Yeah. It realized you started accelerating and it disengaged it.
I'm pretty sure it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't tested it again to confirm, but that did catch me one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. the Tacoma is a manual, so it has a hand actuated,
Oh yeah.
like, a drift vehicle e-brake.
Uh-huh.
So it wouldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's times I try to drive away with the e-brake still engaged and the truck won't even put gas to the engine.
Oh, it shuts off
it shuts off the drive. It's like, no, idiot, your e-brake is on.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting. The e-brake, that caught me off too. And I still haven't tested it, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it.
Let's see some of the other features of it.
Did you do any of the crawl controls or goat modes? Okay.
So, but we'll get into the goat modes in a bit here,
Okay.
and you'll see why when we get there. So I played around with the crawl control.
Yep.
The crawl control it's just like the Toyota crawl control, where it's a cruise control for low and going slow. Wasn't a big fan of it going up hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
But going down
hills, it worked great though.
Yeah. My guess, now that you say that,
Mm-hmm.
is because you're an automatic going down a hill, it would just shift up in kind of gears with some speed. But if you do the crawl control, then it would hold a gear longer or actually apply some.
It actually, yeah, you can choose it, I think 1 mile an hour to 4 miles an hour in half-mile increments I think, in speed.
Okay.
And so you set the cruise control, the trail control, crawl control.
So you can set it from more or less 1 mile an hour to 4 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. And so it'll apply brakes. It'll do everything it needs to in order to manage the speed.
Okay.
The problem though, is that it's reactive. So
yeah.
Going uphill, if you're having to climb a rock or climb over a bump or a ledge or something going uphill, it's reactive. And so it ends up hitting something and slowing for a second, figuring out that it's slowed.
Yeah.
And then it like gasses it and accelerates. And I'm like, no, that's not what we want to do.
Yeah. I want the Moab bump. I need the little bit of speed beforehand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting, the trail control, but for like going downhill and controlling descents, it worked awesome.
Right.
So like if you're concerned about riding the brakes going downhill, and I know that, people get concerned about, I just feel like I'm standing on the brakes going downhill and stuff. You can just put it into the crawl control or the trail, I forget what they call it, and put it down to 1 mile an hour. Yeah. And then all you have to do is steer.
Right. Yeah.
And it does a really good job at controlling and keeping the vehicle very much in control to whatever you set it to.
Yeah. And that's a thing that, beginner off-roaders, maybe to some intermediate off-roaders, just need to understand is let the gears do the work. A lot of times we'll even tell people with automatics to shift, like, hey, you're in 4 low, put your vehicle in first gear and let the gearing take you down the hill. I think I even said it to that guy that was with us that had the other pickup truck on Metal Masher.
Oh yeah.
What was his name? Derek?
Yep.
I said, at one point he's like, my brakes aren't very good.
Yeah.
And I was like, well then why are you using the brakes to go down hills? Like put it in, let the gears do the work, put it in a low gear and let the gear coast down the hill.
Yep.
He's like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yep. Which brings me to another really annoying feature of the Bronco.
Okay.
The automatic transmission is a 10-speed automatic transmission.
Wow.
It works great behind that 2.3 liter turboed engine inline 4 with the lower gearing. It's got 4.7 gears in the diffs.
Wow.
Yep.
That's pretty impressive.
So 4.7 in the diffs with an inline 4. The crawling is really nice. It has pretty good torque and pretty good.
I wonder what the first gear ratio is.
Ability of it.
Yeah.
I want to say the first gear is around 80, 85, maybe 85 to 1.
That first gear ratio
Oh, and the ratio, I don't know what the first gear ratio is.
Yeah.
But, the problem with the 10-speed automatic is the display on the dashboard that tells you what gear you're in.
Okay.
It does not tell you what gear you're in.
Oh.
And so like my F-150, you can set it to full automatic so that it'll just pick whatever gears it wants, right, as it's going. Or you can set it in kind of like a manual automatic where you're not controlling what gear it's in. You're just controlling how high up of a gear it goes. So you can set you can set it to 4th gear and it'll cycle between 1st and 4th gear all it wants to, but it'll never go 5th or 6th.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it tops out your gear choices, right? The Bronco, if you try and tell it to go into manual mode and what gear you want to choose, it'll show it on the screen for like 15 to 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And then it goes away.
Yeah. Okay.
and if you're in full automatic and you mess around shifting it manually, it will pop up on the screen sometimes what gear it's in. And then after about 10 seconds, it'll go away and the transmission will go back to doing whatever it wants. So like either way, you can't, without shifting the vehicle, shifting the transmission, you can't tell what gear you're in.
Right.
So like there was a bunch of times when I was like, I want to be in 1st gear for this, or I want to be in 2nd gear for this. And I couldn't figure out what gear I was in, and I couldn't get the transmission to stay in the gear I wanted it in. So that was getting really annoying.
So is there no options on where's the shifter? It's
right in the center console. Right
is it like, it has reverse, neutral, drive, and you can like a lever that you pull back and forth. Was there no option for like 1 through 5?
There's a manual mode, which you can put it into manual mode. Then you shift it with a plus and minus button on the side of the shifter.
Right. But if you hit a certain torque or a certain speed, RPM, it'll shift up.
It'll kick you out of it if you're stressing it out. But the thing is that it doesn't tell you on the fucking dashboard what gear you're in.
Right.
So like I found myself, like I just sat there like, I want to be in 1st. Okay. So I would just put it in manual and just keep hitting the minus button until this transmission stopped shifting.
Yeah. Oh, that's annoying.
It was almost like a motorcycle where you kind of just have to go all the way to the bottom and then work your way up, whatever you're going to.
I, to some extent, wish that, on my Tacoma, I wish it had an indicator of what gear, even though it's a manual, it's like I could, I could stick my hand on to the stick shift and understand that I'm in this gear. But there's times when I'm on the freeway because that my gearing and my ring and pinion is so low compared to other ones. And then the 6th gear is on a higher side that I'm at a higher RPM than I want to be. And there's times when I'm going like, am I in 4th? Like, and I'll go to shift and I'm like, no, I'm in 6th. And, and I just wish there was an indicator, just some numbers across the bottom of the dash or something that said, this is, this one's lit up. So I'm in that gear. Yep, exactly. And that's what I wish it had. Yeah. It just would make understanding of where you're currently at in the vehicle a little easier. And like the F-150, it has on the side of your heads-up display where it shows your speed, it has your numbers 1 through 6 going upwards, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 going up. And if you drop it below, say you drop the 5 and 6 off of it and you're just going in 4, it has the number highlighted that you're in that gear. Yeah. So you always know what gear you're in the F-150. Okay. Which there's benefits to having that, especially when towing. I think so. I think there's benefits of having that while you're on the road. Yeah, absolutely. Just driving around and you get a better understanding of what's going on, and especially for a manual, you once in a while you go, what gear am I actually in? Yeah. Sometimes I'm going down the freeway. I'm like, man, it's louder than normal. Oh, I'm still in 4th. Yeah. Whoops. Whoops. Yeah. Let's move it up because 4, 5, 6, the gearing is so close. Yeah. In your truck, they are. Yeah. So anyways, that was the most annoying feature about the Bronco other than the air conditioning being out, but yeah, that sucks. That's getting fixed right now. So, yeah, the transmission, it's actually, I'm pleasantly surprised at the transmission. It handled towing the trailer up and over any of the mountain ranges we went over without slowing down at all. Like I could have done 80, 85 towing that much weight. I don't think it would have cared. Wow. I had the temperature gauges up and, the temperatures never really got hot in the transmission. Oh, that's cool. But, yeah, for off-roading though,
I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I can't lock it into the gear that I want it to, and I don't know what gear it is in.
Yeah.
So
That's annoying.
And there's 10 gears to choose from. So like if you're trying to like track the shifts in your head, you just get lost because there's so many of them.
Yeah. You should be able to lock it in a gear.
I agree.
That should be a must.
They missed that. And if it is possible to do, somebody please tell me, because mine doesn't like to do it. Maybe I'm missing something.
Right.
Okay. So that's the transmission and the crawl control. They have a really interesting feature called a one pedal driving.
Yeah. Okay.
One
you said
pedal
that at
mode.
the beginning. What is that?
So think of two pedal mode where you're a two pedal driving, where you've got 1 foot on the gas, 1 foot on the brake.
Yes.
All the time. And you're constantly, in order to control, lunges up and over rocks or off the other side of a rock or something, you're always kind of riding the brakes a little bit.
Yes.
While you're gassing through stuff. That's two pedal driving.
Okay.
One pedal driving is the same thing functionally, just the car does it automatically. So if you push on the accelerator, it releases the brakes for you. As you pull off of the accelerator, it applies brakes for you. So by the time you cut your foot all the way off of the accelerator, it will stop the car for you.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like my riding mower.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I guess
the exact same thing as my riding mower.
That makes sense. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but yeah,
it's
same thing.
I have a John Deere, and if I lift my foot up, it comes to a stop.
Yep.
If I push my foot down, like I'm pressing on a gas pedal, it'll start accelerating.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
how did you try that? Did you like it?
I did try it. Hated it.
I'm sure you did, because you're so used to every other way to drive it.
Yes. I'm not even used to two foot in it, right?
Right. You're used to 3 pedals.
I'm used to 3 pedals, and where you have gearing where everything is connected. So if that third pedal isn't pushed down, the car is moving.
Yes.
And so, and the torque, the low end torque in the Bronco is actually pretty damn decent. So I never felt like I was having to spool up the engine in order to get the torque converter to catch and get forward movement.
Okay.
And so the one pedal driving, interesting concept. It was weird though. I didn't like it.
I bet the secretary would.
I didn't think of turning it on while she was driving.
I bet you she would have. Then it would have been something that she either would have, knowing her, she would have either really enjoyed it, or it would have been the worst thing in the world. And why did you turn this on?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because she's like, but I wanted to stop sooner. Because that's the thing with a one pedal driving is it's braking for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you need to let it give it ample time to brake.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you hit the brakes would still work.
They would still work. Yep.
But I think she would have enjoyed
the simplicity of it. Yeah, I agree. And maybe I'm ruined by knowing what's going on with the vehicles. And so I want more of that control. I don't want the vehicle to decide when to brake kind of thing.
Yeah. You guys are going to the safety clinic.
We are. Yep.
I would say try to go out like Friday after wine tasting.
Yeah.
And put it in one pedal mode and see what she thinks.
Yeah. I think that'd be interesting.
I wouldn't have her do it during the clinic because they do a lot of driving around.
Yeah.
There's, they go do obstacles and then they go do a trail run and then they go and do more obstacles and then go do a trail run, just for the most part. So I would have her do that. I would just test it and see what she thinks.
Yeah.
Because I don't think driving around on trail runs would be that much fun with the one pedal. But you should teach her how to turn the front camera on when she does the little
ledges. The ledges or the tire placement?
No, the tire placement.
Yeah.
And so
that's cheating for that. That defeats the whole purpose of the tire placement.
You need ones that face the rear tires
so
you can figure out when you're turning what's going to hit what on the rear tires.
I think if you're going slow enough, you can turn on the 360-degree camera.
Yeah.
So
that'd be interesting too.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, going back. So yeah, one pedal worked, but you didn't like it.
Yeah, it worked. Too weird. I didn't like it. So those are kind of the main off-road features of the Bronco. And then what the goat modes do is as you put and choose a different goat mode, it picks a different selection of all those off-road features to turn on.
All right. So it's a preset.
It's a preset. Exactly.
So you go, I'm in sand, and you hit the sand button and it disconnects your sway bars. It turns on your e-locker. It does puts it in some other mode or whatever.
Yeah. So that's the first thing that it does. It selects one of those off-road features. And then the other thing that it does is it changes the shift points of the transmission.
Oh.
And I'm pretty sure it changes how much boost the turbo produces.
Oh.
So I started thinking about it. I was like, yeah, I guess it's totally possible to make like an electronic control valve wastegate.
Yeah.
So that it can, close the wastegate more, quote unquote, to create more boost in a different mode and open it more when it wants to use less boost and have better gas mileage.
Yeah.
So
is there a race mode?
That's what Baja mode was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Cause I could tell once I caught it, I went back and forth between eco mode and Baja mode to play around with the turbos. Cause normally you can't really hear the turbos that much in the Bronco.
Yeah.
But when I put it in Baja mode, all of a sudden I can hear the blow off of the turbos. I was like, it's producing more boost and blowing more off now.
Wow.
So, and it was a lot more peppy in Baja mode. It was noticeably different.
So do you have to be in 4-wheel drive to activate those modes?
Depends on the mode.
So Baja mode?
Baja mode, you can do it in 2-wheel drive.
Okay.
Yep. But you, what is it? You can do Baja mode in 2-wheel drive or 4 high. It doesn't like being in Baja mode and 4 low. Once you put it in 4 low, it tells you, it says, hey, this mode isn't done for this. Do you want to switch to a different one?
We're not made to go fast in 4 low.
Exactly.
Sure. But it might be interesting if you're driving down I-5 and you want to get some pep and pass a semi, you're like, click on Baja mode.
You totally could.
Give me some more HPs through those turbos.
You totally could.
Boom.
I don't know. In my opinion and from my experience, it doesn't really need it, but you totally could.
Yeah. I just drive around all day with it on. Start my car, put it in Baja mode.
Yep. You cannot turn on the front locker in Baja mode.
Sure.
It locks you out of the front locker totally.
That makes sense as well.
Yep. So sand mode, you can run that 4-wheel drive. And it removes the front sway bar.
Yep.
And you can turn on the front and rear lockers. The rear locker pretty much under 40 miles an hour, I think. And front locker under, I think, 20 miles an hour in sand mode.
So it'll disengage the front locker for you.
If you get above a certain speed. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So it'll disengage the front locker for you. But if you're going up a hill at slow RPMs, you can't engage it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then rock crawling turns on your rear locker like automatically. Like in sand mode, it doesn't necessarily turn on your rear locker. It just says, hey, we're going to put you in 4-wheel drive mode. And then it gives the options are available, right? When you go into rock crawling mode or rock mode, it turns on your rear locker and disconnects your sway bar for you and puts you in 4 low.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you can go into 4 high if you want, but
can you have your e-locker on and be in 4 high?
You can. Yep.
You can't.
You can't in the Tacoma. Interesting.
It has to be in 4 low.
Interesting. Yeah. And then
wait, I'm second guessing that. I need to double check.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. I don't think you can. I think you have to be in 4 low.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'll test it.
I'm pretty sure we can in 4 high because we used it in 4 high quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's locked to a specific mode in 4 high, but I do know I was reading through the manual while the secretary was driving one day, and pretty much it will turn off the rear e-lockers if you go over like 40 miles an hour in like any mode, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So eco mode, like you can't go into 4-wheel drive at all. It just says you are 2-wheel drive on a highway and deal with it.
Yeah.
You can't use any of the off-road functions.
Front locker works though, no problem.
Yeah. And then normal mode, you can pretty much control everything however you want. It just doesn't change the transmission or the boost controls for you. So like you can do rock crawl mode. No, because even in rock crawl mode, it changes your shift positions. So it will keep you, it's interesting. So like the rock crawl mode and Baja mode were the two that I played around with the most once I kind of figured out what was going on. And Baja mode, both of them keep you in the higher RPM range of the transmission longer.
Okay. Yeah.
But what's interesting is that the rock crawl mode seems to use more of the engine compression when in that high RPM range in the transmission to slow you down. Whereas Baja mode, it like adds more boost or something into it. Because when you're in the higher RPM range in the transmission, it wants to get up and go.
Oh.
And so it's a really, even though you're in the higher ranges of the transmission, the vehicle is still behaving differently as to what the resulting outcome of what it's doing to control things. Yeah. So it was fun kind of playing around with the different modes. And then, so really I started just using the different modes to achieve the transmission and boost performance that I wanted.
Right.
And then I was just controlling the off-road stuff on my own.
Right. So you were shifting between rock crawl or Baja to get the different performance out of your transmission and engine.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other settings you did manually.
Yep, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's a way different way of thinking than the way I would drive around in Bobcat.
Right. Yeah. It was interesting playing around with everything and getting to see, like, oh, what do the Ford engineers think Bajaing is?
Yeah.
And see what controls are available to you, what changes and what doesn't change. And you're like, yeah, they hit it. They hit it pretty good. It performs great in Baja mode for what I would assume Bajaing is.
Yeah. Well, you did Baja up to us pretty quick on Metal Masher.
Yeah, on Metal Masher after everybody left me.
Yeah.
I ended up hitting 65, 70 miles an hour on that road.
Dang.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I was in the White Whale and I was scared to do anything because that thing was like such a boat, just swaying all around with how heavy it is.
Yeah.
But that worked out well. It was pretty smooth. Also, I didn't know the limits of the vehicle, so I didn't want to go Bajaing too fast. I did think that was funny because so at the end of Metal Masher, our Metal Masher Moorflate run, we came down the hill and Lee and I switched vehicles. And I think Lee drove Bobcat harder than I really ever drive it.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was driving the White Whale less than he would drive it.
Oh, yeah.
But faster than I would drive Bobcat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right? Because I knew his was a little more soft, a little more plush. It's linked, it could do little stuff. And so I thought it was an interesting combo because I was being more gentle on his rig than he was on mine, but I was still going faster than I would in my own.
Yeah.
And he was probably going softer than he would in his rig.
Yeah.
But it was still faster than I would have driven Bobcat.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an interesting, I was like, oh, Bobcat's doing okay back there.
Have you ridden around with Lee down at Johnson Valley?
No.
That's something you got to do.
Yeah. Those, I know. He knows his rig.
He does. He does indeed.
Yeah.
And the Kongs do great.
I know. I want some in the back of my Tacoma.
Oh, man.
I bought them out the back of the Tacoma.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's this there's a ditch or I don't know what you want to call it, a concrete little dip for water to run through, out in the neighborhood that I live in.
Okay.
And there's two of them through the intersection. And the first one is pretty aggressive. And the front soaks it up fine, but the rear will smack. So because of that, I slow down slower than I would like. I would love to be able to hit it faster and be like, haha, look, I can do it. But so I need some Kongs back in the rear end. So I because I did the U-bolt flip kit, and then the U-bolts will hit my frame.
That's what's hitting.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And they were longer, and I put screwed on another lug nut or a U-bolt nut or whatever you want to call it, and used a angle grinder and cut them all off at that length, and then took the nut back off and then put the nut on the next one and cut it flat.
Yeah.
Right. So they're the height of, I don't know, whatever, the 3/4 of an inch to an inch higher than the nuts that's holding it together, and it still hits the frame.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to Kong it up, I think, just for the fun of it, to see how it works, to see if it really does anything.
I've ridden with Lee when he's driving around Johnson Valley, and he he sends that whale through all the whoops.
Yeah.
As fast as he can. And those Kongs do an impressive job, I will admit.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I want to test them out.
Yeah.
Lee, I want to test them out.
Yep. Sounds like the new Tacoma is not going to have that issue, though.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure of the whole what's going on in the back, but from some leaked photos and some random pictures that looks like it's going to have some good upgrades. It's
going to have a major overhaul in the rear suspension.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally. Thank God.
Yep. So
I know I might sell my Tacoma.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming out. What is it? May
19th.
19th.
Is supposed to be the official release.
10 days from when we're recording. So we may or may not be getting somebody lined up to come on the podcast and talk about it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So cool, man. That's some Bronco stuff, some of the Bronco tech, the off-road ability of it. I think that for doing a factory vehicle, Ford knocked it out of the park with the technology and the thought going into everything. I don't think I'm not going to use all the technology on it, but for like a newbie getting into it and getting into off-roading and making off-roading a little bit easier to get into and be successful at, and then start working their way into understanding mechanics and how vehicles work in the off-roading world and what they're doing for us when we're crawling over rocks and stuff. It's a beautiful starting platform from a factory, in my opinion. So, yeah, man, curious if people know how to get the transmission,
to stay in
gear, to stay in gear and to keep the display up on the display of what gear I'm in. Please let me know.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Mm-hmm.
You can write us, Jimmy or Tyler, at snailtrail4x4.com. You can write Tyler and let him know on Instagram, 4x4 Toyota Tyler. You can find me over at snailtrail4x4, or Mike Klein. You can call in, area code 916-345-4744, and you can answer all of Tyler's questions right there.
Yep. I'm also expecting a call from Derek, or at least a text message from him too.
Perfect.
So cool, man. If anybody has anything, that's how you get a hold of us. Jimmy, do you have any final words for everybody out there today?
I forgot who said it, and maybe you can remind me, but they said it's a tool at your disposal. Why not use it?
I think that was Justin, Factor 55, when we were talking about winching.
Yes, I think so.
Yep. I agree 100%. It's a tool. Use it. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Ready. Give it to me.
All right. You ready? Are you sure you're ready?
I'm going to get this one.
Are you? Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Where do you learn to make a banana split?
At the ice cream parlor?
Sunday school.
Oh, because it's a Sunday? Sundays?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Serious?
You're allowed to have banana splits on Sundays?
Sunday.
Is this like a Mormon joke or a Catholic joke or something? I'm kidding. Oh, man.
Can't take you anywhere.
I'm hilarious, bro.